So in transactional analysis, we will be talking about what it is about, different ego states, type of transactions, life positions, and different contributions that people have made towards transactional analysis. Now, transactional analysis was first given by Dr. Eric Burney. Dr. Eric Burney. Now, there's an interesting story how he started working on this concept of transactional analysis and how he came with it. So, Dr. Eric Burney, he was very much influenced by the work of Sigmund Freud, right? And Sigmund Freud, he talked about three individual. So, Sigmund Freud, he talked about three types of, or you can say components or elements of an individual psyche. Individual psyche, and Sigmund Freud said it consists of three components: id, ego, and superego. Id is that component which is very impulsive and they want immediate gratification, they want pleasure, and they want to fulfill or satisfy the basic or primal instincts in any individual being, like hunger, thirst, etc. Ego is that part which consists of both conscious, unconscious, and rational thinking, which basically works on reality principle. It analyzes this part of the personality, this component of any individual psyche would consider the reality around them and then behave in a certain manner, whereas superego is that part which forms the moral standards in any individual. Okay, so these were the three components that Sigmund Freud talked about. And Sigmund Freud, he started giving training to people. So there were experts or doctors, or which are called psychoanalysts. Okay. Psychoanalysts, and they were trained to, they would sit down with people, talk to them, and they would understand, okay, what personality types they are, what their dreams means, etc., all those things. So Dr. Burney, he was also interested and he was influenced by Sigmund Freud, and he wanted to become a psychoanalyst, and he went and gave exam to get the training and all those things, and he got rejected several times. Eventually, he got tired and he said, now I'm going to do my own research, and I'm going to, because see, Sigmund Freud's work was limited only to understand the components, right? It was not, what to say, therapy oriented. But what Eric Burney wanted to achieve was not just to understand personality or behavior. No, he wanted to use it so that he can help people in improving their behavior in their day-to-day life. So helping them in a manner, not just understanding. He did not stop just to understand and define personality, but also work towards helping people in how they can improve their day-to-day interactions and behavior. So although he was influenced by Sigmund Freud, he went ahead and propounded a theory which later on helped people in improving their behavior. So transactional analysis, even today, it's used as one of the tools of therapy. So let's start by understanding what transactional analysis is all about. So it consists of two words here. One is transactions, and other part is analysis. Okay. So what does transaction means? We have a sender. Okay. And sender sends a stimulus to the receiver, or responder, and the responder responds. This is what is known as a transaction. Right? So for example, if I say hi to you, so that hi would be a stimulus. Okay. And then you would respond to my hi. That would be the response. And this interaction between two people is known as transaction according to Dr. Burney. Okay. So we can say that transactions are nothing but fundamental unit of social interactions, or it is the communication or conversations between two people. So transaction analysis is basically a study or to analyze and to understand how people interact with each other. Right? This is what transactional analysis is all about. It is a study of transactions and not just the components of an individual. No. Yes, those components have influence on how people interact and transact. So basically understand. So here, the basic element of study in transaction analysis is transactions. What are transactions? It is how people interact with each other, the conversations people have, the communication people have. That is known as transaction here. Okay. And what the analysis part consists of? The analysis of such transaction helps us in understanding personalities. So the analysis gave us a theory of personality. It is also a theory of communication. It helps us in understanding how people communicate with each other, right? This analysis, transactional analysis, is also used as in therapy, as psychotherapy, and helped in improving behavior. We will understand how that happens, how transactional analysis helps in. It also can be used as educational and organizational tool to understand behavior. So managers, they can use, managers or teachers or people around you, even you yourself, you can use transactional analysis to first understand your behavior, to understand others' behavior, and to have a fruitful interaction with others. That's the main purpose of transactional analysis. So, as I told you, Sigmund Freud, Eric Burney, he was influenced by the work of Sigmund Freud. He was also influenced by another, he was a neurologist, basically. What was his name? Let me just check. Wilder Penfield. He was a neurologist, and what he did, he conducted an experiment. He gave low intensity electric shock to certain parts of the brain, and what it did, people were able to recall certain events that has happened in the past, and not just recall the events, but also Dr. Penfield, he was able to invoke the exact feelings. People were able to tell those events, and they were also able to tell and express how they felt about that those events. So according to Dr. Wilder Penfield, our brain acts as a tape recorder where everything, all our life experiences get recorded, and when given correct stimulus to the correct part, you know how during older times, have you guys seen cassettes which were played in cassette players or Walkmans? It consisted of a reel where magnetically you would imprint songs on a tape, and once you play those tapes, that particular song would play, right? And you can rewrite on those tapes, magnetic tapes, right? So likewise, our brain acts as these tapes where experiences get imprinted, and upon a correct stimulus, people can replay those exact events and feelings and emotions that they were feeling at that time, right? So this was one study done by Wilder Penfield, and then psychoanalytic theory given by Sigmund Freud. Combined, affected by these two works in their respective fields, Dr. Eric Berney, he propounded this theory of transactional analysis. Now here, what he did while he met people, his patients, he observed that people behave as if when they are explaining things or while they are interacting with others, people behaved while telling him their experiences, etc. People behaved as if there are multiple people living inside them. Now, this is important. Again, I'm telling you, Dr. Berney, he observed that his patients express themselves as if there are multiple people living inside of them, right? And this forced him to study the personality as a where he got influenced from Sigmund Freud. Sigmund Freud also said that personality is multifaceted. And this is what he also observed, that sometimes people behave in a certain manner, in another situation they behave in some other manner, as if there are multiple people living inside just one person, right? And this led him to understand personality and to understand how people interact with each other. With different people, they interact differently. Sometimes they act as one person, in other with other people they interact like somebody else. This led him to study this fundamental unit of social interaction, which he called as transaction. Now, to understand transaction, first you need to understand different states an individual can be in while interacting with others. And he called it as ego states. Okay. So what are ego states? Ego states are basically the feelings or emotions associated with a pattern of feeling. Okay. A pattern of feelings and emotions directly associated with a pattern of behavior. That is what an ego state is. So basically, a ego state represents a certain set of experiences, feelings, and emotions that lead to certain kinds of behavior. Understood? And according to Dr. Berney, he talked about that each individual can behave or their behavior can come from three different types of ego states. Three basic ego states. And by the way, this study of ego states is known as structural analysis. Under transactional analysis, we have structural analysis, which talks about to understand different types of ego states an individual can possess. Structural analysis. And by the way, although transactional analysis was first propounded by Dr. Berney, he worked on this concept or in this area, in this field for more than 30 years. And later on, several other people studied and they have contributed towards building this. So transactional analysis is actually a bigger umbrella. Under that umbrella, we have different types of analysis and studies done. So under transactional analysis, we have structural analysis, which specifically studies these three ego states. Again, what are ego states? Ego states are set of emotions and feelings, or you can say experiences, which are directly associated with a pattern of behavior. Okay, that are ego states. There are 3 ego states defined by Dr. Burney. First, a parent ego state. Now, a parent ego state contains the external events which got imposed during an individual's childhood. So, parent ego state basically consists of external events. When I say external events, these are what experiences that you had during your childhood and that got imposed, imprinted like a tape recorder, right? We keep on hearing when we are younger, when we are smaller, and usually this parent ego state develops around 3 to 5 years of age. By 5 years of age, your parent ego state is like it starts building once the child develops understanding, and till the age of 5 or 6, or let's say 10 at max, not even 10, 5 or 6, your parent ego state develops. And what it consists of? All the experiences. When we are children, we keep listening different things that our parents are saying. We hear it on the television. We hear somebody say something, right? So we record everything. Everything gets imprinted on us like a tape recorder. All the external events. So, for example, our parents saying that you should not lie, or you should cross the road looking both sides, or you should not touch a hot stove, right? Or you should do this or that. So all the shoulds, shouldn't, ought, and ought not, all these things basically make a parent ego state. What all we have been told. Okay, understood? That consists of a parent ego state. The parent ego state is again further divided later on. So initially, Dr. Burney only gave 3 ego states. Other researchers and thinkers, they further divided and they conducted studies and further divided parent ego state into 2. A critical parent, which is the lecturing, criticizing, shoulds and don'ts and do's, and a nurturing parent, which is consoling type or taking care of others in sympathy, right? These are again ego state. We categorize them. We categorize our experiences this way. We categorize the feelings associated with those experiences this way. Okay. Now comes the next ego state, which is adult. Before adult, I would talk about child ego state. The child ego state contains the feelings and emotions related to the external events that were imposed during our childhood. So parent ego state consists of the external events themselves, like somebody telling me, like during my childhood, I've always seen my mother, she's very punctual, she's very disciplined. And that's what she has always told us kids. So during the childhood, I know, be on time, finish your work early, wake up early in the morning, bathe every day, pray, do puja every day, right? So these things get imprinted and these are external events. Then comes the child ego state, which consists of the feelings and emotions associated with the external events. So let's say when my mother said, don't touch the hot cup or a hot plate or any hot utensil, that's the parent ego state. That's the external event that's got recorded. I must have felt something, right? Maybe fearful, right? So as soon as I encounter the same external event, I will recall the emotions or feelings associated with that external event. So for example, my parents told me that don't talk to strangers, right? So I would feel anxious. Maybe at that time I felt anxious or fearful of strangers, right? So that feeling would become child ego state. right? The feelings associated with external events. And further, child ego state is also divided into adapted child and natural child. Adapted child, modified behavior to conform adult expectations. So adapted child is where you are submissive, you are not very creative, you are not very open, you're manipulative. You basically, you try to conform to anyone who is older to you, elder in your life. You want to conform to their expectations and you modify your behavior in that manner. Then natural child, which is playful, impulsive, naturally conscious, creative, fun loving, etc. These are the feelings. Okay, again we are talking about feelings. Then comes adult ego state. Now adult ego state is that ego state which evaluates what really is going on and what makes an independent decisions about the world, right? So it considers what has been told. Okay, so adult ego state, it considers the external events, what they have been told, and how they feel about things, and then combinedly they take decision. Okay, so this is rational thinking. So adults, they think objectively, rationally, they are more oriented towards problem solving, etc. And they are better able to regulate emotions. So again, take example of hot stove. Adult or anybody in our life, our parents, let's say, they tell us not to touch a hot object. Okay, adult also recognizes that a child's fear to touch the hot object. Correct? Now, the adult ego state would consider both these things, that, okay, the child is fearful of hot object and I am told not to touch hot object. So I will be careful whenever I am around hot objects. I will be careful not to touch it. This is adult ego state, where you are thinking rationally, you are considering all the things. So it's not just you are simply following whatever you have been told. No, you are using your logic based upon. So let's say our parents tell us that you should wake up early. Okay, but your child ego state is feeling lethargic. They do not see the importance in waking up early. So adult will consider both these things. So probably adult will decide, okay, I will not wake up at 5 a.m. but I will wake up at 8 a.m. because otherwise I won't be able to get to work on time. Both the other ego states. Okay. Now, to understand these ego states, Thomas Harris, I think that's what his name is. Yes, Thomas Harris. He was one of the students working under Dr. Eric Burney, and he he simplified these ego state to understand, and he said that parent ego state can be considered as a taught concept. Taught concept. Whereas child ego state is felt concept, right? That's how we feel. And adult ego state can be considered as thought concept. This is how he simplified to understand these three ego states. Now, anytime a person is interacting with other person or having a transaction, it involves communication of these three ego states between two people. So imagine that two people who are communicating or having a conversation. It's not like one individual has only one ego state. No, we all have all these three ego states, and sometimes we operate from our child ego state, sometimes we operate from our adult ego state, and sometimes we operate from our parent ego state. Correct? And transactions in reality are nothing but the interaction of these three ego states of two people. Okay, so we need to analyze now that we have understood the ego states. Now we'll see what are the different types of interactions or different types of transactions based upon which ego state and how these interactions are happening. And the first one is complementary transactions. Now, complementary transactions are those when a message from one ego state gets to the intended ego state to which the communication is actually intended and get a response from the same ego state that you have directed your interaction to. This is known as a complementary transaction. So, for example, I have sent a message from my parent ego state to other person's child ego state, and if that person responds from their child ego state only, because that's where I directed my communication to. This is known as a complementary transaction. Explain it with an example. Let's say there's a there's a employee in the organization called Ram. Okay. And there's another employee, Sita. Okay. Now Ram goes to Sita and tells her that I want to play a prank on our boss. Who's the boss? Let's call the boss Ravan. So boss is Ravan. So Ram went to Sita and tells her that I want to play a prank. And now Sita, when Ram said that I want to play a prank, he is actually addressing Sita's child ego state. Okay, the playful, the funny, and spontaneous ego state. Okay, and if Sita says that, yeah, that's a good idea, let's, it would be very funny, let's play the prank. So Sita is also responding from her child ego state, which is what Ram wanted. So this is a complementary transaction where they both, so the intended meaning reached, right? From communication perspective also we can understand that the same meaning which Ram intended was understood by Sita, hence communication is complete, and such transactions are called as complementary transactions. These are the most fruitful transactions because you get the best result out of it, right? Then there are crossed transactions. Here, what happens? The person responds not from the ego state which has been directed. Instead, they respond from other ego state. That is known as crossed transactions. Now, imagine again the same example. If Ram went to Sita addressing her child ego state that let's play a prank, and instead of agreeing and thinking that it would be funny, let's say Sita responds from her parent ego state. So here Ram is addressing Sita's child ego state, but instead of responding from her child ego state, Sita responds from a parent ego state, scolding Ram that what are you thinking? Are you mad? This is not appropriate. We should behave in a certain manner, and our boss is senior to us, and we should not play pranks at workplace. So this is coming from her parent ego state. And when there's a difference between when the response is not coming from the intended ego state, that's when transactions are called crossed transactions. And these are usually not very good types of transactions. We do not want to encourage cross transactions. Why? Because that will lead to fights and agitation and stress between people, friction between people, because they are not agreeing, correct? Then there's a third type called ulterior transaction. Now, ulterior transactions are more complex type of transactions where more than one ego states are involved. So what is happening here? Apart from the main message that the sender is sending to the receiver, on outside, from the outside, you would see one thing happening, but then there is a hidden message also coming from another ego state. So here you can see one ego state is involved. Here also from responder side also one ego state is involved. In cross transaction also one ego state from sender and one ego state from responder is involved. But in ulterior transaction, more than one ego states are involved. So let's say in our example, although Ram went to Sita to thinking that let's play a joke or let's play a prank on our boss. Okay. But so this is coming from our child ego state, Ram's child ego state to Sita's child ego state. Okay. That's what we see from the outside. But in reality, the main purpose why Ram went to Sita is only to it was an excuse to have a conversation with Sita. Okay. So maybe Ram only wanted to spend time with Sita. But the excuse he took was of a prank. So from outside, here Ram is trying to communicate from his child ego state to Sita's child ego state. But in reality, he was trying to send a message from his adult ego state to Sita's adult ego state to come together and spend time together. So this would be an example of ulterior transaction where we are, and I give you another example. When let's say husband and wife, they get into a fight, okay? And husband then asks, after the fight is over, husband asks the wife, okay, how are you feeling now? Okay. And wife says, I'm okay. Right? I'm fine. But in reality, she's not fine. From inside, she's thinking of 10 different other things, that how her husband has disappointed her, right? So here, more than two ego states are involved from wife's side. Okay. So husband is trying to address to wife's adult ego state when he was asking, how are you feeling? Okay. And he wants a real rational answer instead. So on the outside, she's saying, I'm okay. Maybe her tone could be a little stiff or sarcastic. From our outside, it appears that she is answering from her adult ego state, but instead she is responding from trying to send a hidden message from a child ego state that she is not fine in reality. Yes, Tyagi, you can say kahin pe nigahe, kahin pe nishana. That's what ulterior transactions are, and they are more complex. They're not as simple as complementary or cross transactions. So actually, it is easier to change, or you can say understand, and hence change and improve cross transactions, because there you clearly understand what is happening. Okay, this is the friction. So probably with therapy, you can tell the other person that see this at workplace, let's say, or at our homes, let's say we are responding from child ego state, but our parents are expecting us to respond from adult ego state. So with therapy, we can be told that, okay, you should behave from your adult ego state in this situation. And with this understanding, with practice, we can improve upon our behavior. But ulterior transaction itself, they are complex to understand, right? Because there's hidden message involved. So these are different types of transactions that we see. Now comes types of strokes. Should I do types of strokes first? Okay, let's talk about strokes. Now, as discussed earlier, what are transactions? These are fundamental unit of social interaction. Correct, Akshay? So when we say transactions, they are fundamental unit of social interactions. And according to Dr. Burney, we can study these interactions, we can understand these interactions, and we can classify them also. We can measure them. Correct? Now, but what are the outcomes of these transactions? Those are measured in terms of strokes. So strokes are actually fundamental unit of social action. Or you can say these are the outcomes or how you recognize the transaction. So these are nothing but strokes are nothing but the recognition of your transactions. Now it could be negative or positive. So let's say if I said hi to my neighbor, let's say I'm coming back to home from office and my neighbor is let's say washing his car outside. So I looked at my neighbor and I said hi. So when the neighbor let's say my neighbor responded by smiling at me, so that smile is stroke, recognition of my interaction with him. He can respond in negative manner also by showing an angry expression. That would tell me that, okay, there is something that has happened. Okay. So this transaction that is happening, strokes are usually the recognition or acknowledgement or outcome of these transactions that are happening on day-to-day basis. And according to Dr. Burney, these strokes are very, very important for any individual to develop and behave in their best possible or optimum manner. And actually this comes from a study, again, one nurse or doctor who was working with neonatal kids, as in very, very young kids, infants, basically. And she said that infants who are given a lot of love and care in physical form, like they are cuddled well, you pat them and you soothe them physically, you hug them, right? So children or infants who got such physical recognition and physical strokes, they tend to develop into a good child. They are healthy child, versus children or infants who are deprived of such physical connection from their parents or loved ones, right? From there, this concept of stroke came to Eric Burney's mind, that not just infants and child, even adults, they need such kind of strokes. You guys know that as soon as a child is born, when if the child is not crying on its own, doctors, they pat them very strongly to make them cry. Correct? So according to Dr. Burney, not just positive strokes or positive recognition, but negative recognition is also vital for life. That shows that you're alive, you're not dead. Any kind of stroke, be it indifference, is something which is very, very detrimental for anybody's behavior and personality. Indifference means you are neutral. आपको फर्क ही नहीं पड़ता. That is very detrimental. So any kind of stroke, be it positive or negative, that would invoke certain kind of behavior and is very, very vital for life itself. Okay. So let's quickly talk about different types of strokes. Positive conditional stroke. That means if you do this, you will get something, you will get the reward. So as is this case, the kid has studied, completed the homework, and the parent saying, well done. So this well done is a positive stroke. Okay. And conditional, because you are saying well done because the child has done something. Then positive unconditional, no strings or no conditions attached. The love our parents have for their kids, that's unconditional love. No matter what you do, you're still our kid and we love you. So I love you. This is an unconditional positive stroke. Then negative conditional, something went wrong and then you are saying something, that's a negative conditional. So let's say here this person is saying you look silly. So you don't look silly all the time, you are looking silly right now because of these conditions, right? So this is negative conditional. So let's say a manager, if a manager yells at somebody because they have not performed, that would be negative conditional. The manager yelled because you have not performed, correct? Then there is negative unconditional also, where you don't have any reason, you just simply don't like somebody. right? I hate you, I dislike you, I don't vibe with you. Correct? Those would be negative unconditional strokes. And as per a study conducted by one of the Burney student, Claude Steiner. No, that's not the spelling. Steiner. Claude Steiner, he conducted a study and gave the concept of strokes economy. Strokes economy. And he said, actually, strokes are the currency of social interaction, which we do not give out that easily. We treat it as a currency and we don't give out strokes that easily. Although, what it would take, if you compliment somebody, what it would take? Nothing. Yet, we are restrictive in how we spend our strokes, right? That helps us in understanding how humans behave. Actually, they consider strokes as currency and they use it wisely. They use it where they can get some benefit out of it. So let's say if you are going out somewhere, how we use our currency, Indian rupee, to buy things. You perform certain job and you get salary, right? Likewise, in social world, in the world of social interactions where people are constantly interacting with each other, these strokes actually act as currencies, and we don't give out. We are very miser, बहुत कंजूस है हम in giving out strokes, positive strokes especially. Now, let's go through the important concepts under transactional analysis. First, we have already covered structural analysis. Then comes game analysis. What is game analysis? So, what is a game? First, we need to understand. A game, according to Dr. Burney, is an ongoing series of ulterior transactions. Now, mind you, ulterior transactions are very complicated transactions where more than one ego states are involved and usually a hidden message is there. So, it is a series of more than one ulterior transactions that you are constantly performing to achieve or to get a predictable outcome. So what a game actually is, a game is where an individual is using ulterior transactions to get something, to achieve something. Now that something could be a lot of different things. We will talk about payoff. So every game has a payoff. And the analysis and study of how individuals act in ulterior fashion to achieve certain goals, that study is known as game analysis. Now, I talked about payoff. Payoff means what you get in the end. So there are different types of payoff. One is biological payoff. So people play games. So basically, you understood. It's about people are constantly engaged in ulterior transactions. They say something, but they are actually feeling something else. Their agenda is something else, and they constantly indulge in such ulterior transactions. Why? Because they want to achieve something. What they want to achieve is categorized into these three categories. Biological payoffs. What are biological payoffs? Biological payoffs are nothing but strokes. You engage in ulterior transactions because you need strokes. Okay, so that's one thing. Second is time structuring. So what time structuring basically means, we have time, right? And sometimes we want to pass time. We want to entertain ourselves. We want to make our lives interesting and not boring. So a lot of times people engage in ulterior transactions just to entertain themselves, to make their life interesting. Otherwise, life will be dull and boring. Right? So time, how you are structuring your time. You may engage in ulterior transactions if just to entertain yourself and pass time in a more eventful manner. Third is confirming the life positions or affirming to the existential position of life. We will and you will understand this point once we talk about life positions. So as of now, these are the 3 payoffs that people get, and that's why people play games. In fact, Dr. Burney has written a very, very famous book, The Games People Play. And if you people have time, you can go ahead and read that book. Very interesting. Then comes script analysis. Now, script analysis, as per Dr. Burney or transaction analysis, a lot of thinkers, they have given this concept of script analysis, where it is said that unconsciously during our childhood itself, depending upon the experience that we have in our childhood, based on that, unconsciously we decide our life path. Like, this is how we are going to be in life. Okay, based on whatever, like, I'm going to be happy, I'm going to be sad, I'm going to always stay alone, I'm going to be the greatest, this, that, whatever it might be. The script, you know how films are made, there's a story already written and actors, they simply play their part in that story. Likewise, according to transactional analysis, each individual actually writes unconsciously, follows a path that they have already decided in their mind during the childhood. And that is known as script analysis. And it is very helpful in therapies because that lets the therapist to understand what is the script that the individual is actually working, and make them understand that they can change. If we don't understand what unconsciously that person is working towards, we won't be able to change it, right? So script analysis helps the therapist to understand the experiences that the individual had during the childhood, and probably because of those childhood experience, they have decided to go on a certain path which might be detrimental for them, which might not be very productive for them. So for example, let's say a person who has experienced a lot of trauma, stress and anxiety when that person saw their parents fighting during childhood. So let's say an individual's parents got separated or got divorced, and they used to constantly fight all the time. That has impacted the individual during their childhood, and maybe during that childhood, his childhood, the individual has decided that I am never going to make my child go through that experience. Because I have had a bad experience, I am never going to make my child experience anything such traumatic things ever in life. Now, because of this unconscious path that the person has chosen, maybe that person is not separating from an abusive partner. Okay. He is sticking, despite being in an abusive relationship, he's still sticking and not leaving that person, thinking that this will create a negative impact on my child, without realizing that staying in that relationship will harm the child also. So that individual has taken that decision to take on the trauma from an abusive partner. Why? Because of that script that individual has already started following unconsciously based on the childhood experiences. Okay, so script analysis talks about life paths and how we unconsciously decide that what we are going to be in our life, or where we are going to get at, right? Next are life positions. Life positions are basically decision that an individual makes upon deciding about how they are doing in life, how others are doing in life, and how we are fulfilling our life script. So life positions are basically decisions, conscious decisions that an individual takes on how they are doing in life and how others are doing in life. And basically life positions, they confirm the script that they have unconsciously decided. The position that you take in your life will always bring you towards fulfilling the life script that you have decided. Okay. And coming back to the game analysis payoff part, life positions, game analysis ka bhi part hai. Yes, a lot of times it is one of the payoffs. Okay. Sometimes we engage in ulterior transactions just to confirm our life positions. That yes, this is the life position, this is my life position, and I should act accordingly. So basically, people engage in ulterior transactions, people play these games to fulfill their life script. People play games. One of the reasons is to fulfill their life script and maintain their life positions. Okay. What are life positions? Different life positions. Let's talk about those. First life position is I am not okay, you are okay. I am not okay, you are okay. It is a one down position. We are taking a lower position in life compared to others. We feel that everybody else around me is doing good in life. They are doing great in life, but I am not doing great. That might not be a reality. It's all about different perspectives. It is all about, it's referential, what reference point you are taking. And it is highly subjective and contextual. You cannot say that somebody is doing amazing in their life just because they have a better job. Maybe somebody who's earning lower salaries and yet they are satisfied, right? They're happy. So it is about life positions. What take you you take on life, correct? That is what life positions are. So one position is I am not okay, you are okay. Okay. For example, at workplace, if you hear your co-worker saying you have already completed your project or assignment in the time limit, I am not feeling well, I don't think I'm going to able to finish in time, etc., etc., etc. Maybe in reality the co-worker is also struggling, correct? They are also struggling. They are facing different issues at home, also at workplace. But it is you who think that they are doing fine, but it is me who's not having a good time in life. Okay. Then I am okay, you are not okay. It is a one up position. Here I feel super. So people with this life position, they are always they always have an inferiority complex, that somehow others are better than me, and they are always going to end up in a good position, in good situations, and I will always lack. The opposite of it is I am okay, but you are not okay. So this is a one up position. For example, you're not doing like if manager or anybody who has a superiority complex, they will always look down upon other people, that you are not doing good, I am doing the best. And now imagine the kind of position you take in life will impact the kind of interaction you're going to have with people. And people, let's say with this life position. I am okay, you're not okay. One up position. What kind of games they will play? They will manipulate people in thinking that they are inferior to them, right? They will maybe inside, they in reality they admire their work, that how hardworking they are, how persistent they are, despite so many difficulties they are doing good. But on the outside they will show that no, I am doing good, it is you who have a problem and you should correct your ways. So this is an ulterior transaction. You're not showing the reality out. Okay. Then we have, I am okay, you are not okay. That's not correct. Wait. I am not okay, you are okay. I am okay, you are not okay. Here will be, I am not okay, you are also not okay. This is wrong. And this is a hopeless situation, hopeless position, or a depressive position. I'm sorry, this is incorrect. Okay. The third position is, I am also not okay, you are also not okay. Life is doomed. Everybody is going to, there's going to be a catastrophe, there's going to be a apocalypse, and we all are going to die. So it's a depressive kind of position where you are hopeless with life itself. You feel that nobody is doing good in life and there is no point of doing anything because we all are doomed. Then last we have, I am okay, you are also okay. And this is the most healthy position. And when people are in this position, they are able to help themselves and they're able to help others also. They come together, collaborate well, and work towards achieving their goals in life. This is the most healthy position you can have, right? And you want people. So with therapy, usually life scripts and life positions, they do not change on its own. They are formed based on your childhood experiences, whatever you have. That is why it is so important. We should be very mindful around children, what we are saying, what experiences we are giving to children, because that is going to decide their life script and the position they are going to take in life. So usually people who come from very abusive environment, children who come from very abusive environment, who have seen a lot of stressful condition and trauma, they usually end up having this depressive life state. To them nothing seems lucrative. They feel like life is just one hell and there's no point in putting in effort in anything because you cannot change anything, right? And usually life positions and life scripts are not changed that easily. You cannot on your own change the life position and life script because they are formed based on your childhood experiences. But with therapy, with some intervention, you can try to change by addressing the issues that has causing the trauma or stress or anxiety. By addressing those issues, you can change your life script and life positions. Okay. And that's why transaction analysis is so important, because Dr. Eric Burney, he had this vision that he wanted to provide a therapeutic or behavioral change, improvement he wanted. And that's why he worked so hard in this field for more than 30 years. Now let's talk about different contributions, and these life positions are talked upon by Thomas Harris in his book, I Am Okay, You Are Okay. Currently, I am reading that book, and I would suggest if you people have time, please read these prominent contributions by different authors. So, Games People Play, I told you, written by Eric Burney. Then What Do You Say After You Say Hello? It is another one of the bestsellers by Dr. Burney. Then I Am Okay, You Are Okay, written by Thomas and Amy Harris. I'm currently reading this book. I will let you know how it turned out. Then Scripts People Live by Claude Steiner, where he talked about Stokes economy. Transactional analysis for trainers. Julie Hay was one of the thinkers who implemented transactional analysis for training purposes to modify employee behavior by training them, understanding different types of transactions and how they can modify it. TA Today by Ian Stewart and Van Joins. Then Organizational Transactional Analysis and Business Performance by Anita Mountain and Chris Davidson. These are the prominent contributors in the field of transactional analysis. Now let's quickly practice few questions. Yes. C. Next. This is a simple one. The correct answer is C. You people are okay. Some of you have answered C. Correct answer is C. Structural analysis, interaction analysis, and life position analysis. A, B, C are correct. The rest three are not. Oh, nice. So most of you have answered correct, and the correct answer is D. Here, I am okay, you are okay is a most healthy position. So A ka fourth. Then I am okay, you are not okay is the paranoid position. Like we are paranoid means somebody who is really obsessed about something, right? So I am okay, you are not okay. Then I am not okay, you are okay. It is a depressive position. And lastly, schizoid position means where somebody who is mentally, they are absolutely weak, they are upset, they are not in touch with reality actually. So fourth would be the correct answer. This is a simple one. Yes, correct. B, complementary transactions. A lot of you are saying C, but that's not the correct answer. Correct answer is A. Rationality is associated with adult ego state, fantasizing with child, and demonstrating with parent. So correct answer would be A. Stimulus and response are parallel. Yes, correct answer is B, complementary transactions. Remember, if I am sending stimulus to one ego state and getting response from the same ego state, then it would be parallel. Crossed would be like this. Correct?